أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حاميم والكتاب المبين إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة إنا كنا منذرين فيها يفرق كل أمر حكيم أمرا من عندنا إنا كنا مرسلين رحمة من ربك إنه هو السميع العليم رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إن كنتم موقنين لا إله إلا هو يحيي ويميت ربكم ورب آبائكم الأولين بل هم في شك يلعبون فارتقب يوم تأتي السماء بدخان مبين يغشى الناس هذا عذاب أليم ربنا اكشف عنا العذاب إنا مؤمنون أنى لهم الذكرى وقد جاءهم رسول مبين ثم تولوا عنه وقالوا معلم مجنون إن كاشف العذاب قليلا إنكم عائدون يوم نبطش البطشة الكبرى إنا منتقمون ولقد فتنا قبلهم قوم فرعون وجاءهم رسول كريم أن أدوا إلي عباد الله إني لكم رسول أمين وألا تعلوا على الله إني آتيكم بسلطان مبين وإني عوذت بربي وربكم أن ترجمون وإن لم تؤمنوا لي فاعتزلون فدعا ربه أن هؤلاء قوم مجرمون فأسر بعبادي ليلا إنكم متبعون واترك البحر رهوا إنهم جند مغرقون كم تركوا من جنات وعيون وزور ومقام كريم والنعمة كانوا فيها فاكهين كذلك وأورثناها قوما آخرين فما بكت عليهم السماء والأرض وما كانوا منذرين ولقد نجينا بني إسرائيل من العذاب المهين من فرعون إنه كان عاليا من المسرفين ولقد اخترناهم على علم على العالمين وآتيناهم من الآيات ما فيه بلاء مبين إن هؤلاء ليقولون إن هي إلا موتتنا الأولى وما نحن بمنشرين فأتوا بآبائنا إن كنتم صادقين أهم خير أم قوم تبع والذين من قبلهم أهلكناهم إنهم كانوا مجرمين وما خلقنا السماوات والأرض وما بينهما لاعبين ما خلقناهما إلا بالحق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون إن يوم الفصل ميقاتهم أجمعين يوم لا يغني مولى عن مولى شيئا ولا هم ينصرون إلا من رحم الله إنه هو العزيز الرحيم إن شجرة الزقوم طعام الأثيم كالمهل يغلي في البطون كغلي الحميم خذوه فاعتلوه إلى سواء الجحيم ثم صبوا فوق رأسه من عذاب الحميم ذق إنك أنت العزيز الكريم إن هذا ما كنتم به تمترون إن المتقين في مقام أمين في جنات وعيون يلبسون من سندس واستبرق متقابلين كذلك وزوجناهم بحور عين يدعون فيها بكل فاكهة آمنين لا يذوقون فيها الموت إلا الموتة الأولى ووقاهم عذاب الجحيم فضلا من ربك ذلك هو الفوز العظيم فإنما يسرناه بلسانك لعلهم يتذكرون فارتقب إنهم مرتقبون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك الإثم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنعني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع متضرع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانيا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم واسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك ولا مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي ألقى به بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فاده من البلاء أقلته وكم من إثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أحلا له نشرته. اللهم أعظم بلائي وأفرط بسوهالي وكسرت بأعمالي وقعدت بأغلالي وحبسني النفس بعد عملي وخدتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإثاتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور يتوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ذري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكم اتبعت في هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسأده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك. فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا. لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في ساعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ذري وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عزمي. يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذب بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد من توى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تزيى من ربيته أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من عاويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادها وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر هوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشية وعلى جوارح ساعة الأوطان تعبدك طاعية وأشارت باستغفارك مذئنا ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثو يسير بقاء كثير مدة فكيف احتمال لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما من هذا الجوابك لعليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك. فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لازجن إليك بين أهلها زجيج العاملين ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولا أنادينك إن كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية أعمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفتي وذاك تام عذابها بمعصيتي وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرتي وهو يزج إليك زجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك ورأفتك أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يهلك لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوتا وترى مكانا أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رباه أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتكه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك وباليقين أكتو لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاهدك وقضيت به من إخلاد معاندك لجلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملاها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأن تجلى ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمت وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررت وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته وأخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواره وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بذري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوي على خدمتك جواره واشدد على العزيمة جوانه وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرها إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبارزين واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارد ومن كادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك وعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وكلني عثرتي واغفر لي زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وزمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني منايا ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من راس ماله الرجاء وسلاؤه البكاء يا سابغ النعام يا دافع النقام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافل بما أنت أحلو وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سورة المباركة الفاتحة मौला अली शेर खुदा मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना ए मौला अली शेर खुदा मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना तुमने सुनी फरियाद सभी की तुमने मदद की बंदों की तुमने सुनी फरियाद सभी की तुमने मदद की बंदों की अब मेरी भी सुन लो मेरे खुदा अब मेरी भी सुन लो मेरे खुदा मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना
میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، اے مولا علی شیر خدا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا۔ تم نے در خیبر کو اکھاڑا، دین کا جھنڈا گاڑ دیا، تم نے در خیبر کو اکھاڑا، دین کا جھنڈا گاڑ دیا، اسلام کی روشن تم نے کیا، اسلام کو تم نے روشن کیا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، اے مولا علی شیر خدا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا۔ پیدا ہوئے اللہ کے گھر میں، پائی شہادت مسجد میں، پیدا ہوئے اللہ کے گھر میں، پائی شہادت مسجد میں، کیا شان ہے تمہاری صلی اللہ، کیا شان ہے تمہاری صلی اللہ، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، اے مولا علی شیر خدا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا۔ حق نے تمہیں تلوار عطا کی، دختر دی پیغمبر نے، حق نے تمہیں تلوار عطا کی، دختر دی پیغمبر نے، ہم تو فدائے محبوب خدا، ہم تم پہ فدا ہے محبوب خدا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا۔ جان بڑی مشکل میں پڑی ہے، آؤ مدد کو شیر خدا، جان بڑی مشکل میں پڑی ہے، آؤ مدد کو شیر خدا، کہتے ہیں سب مشکل کشا، کہتے ہیں سب ہی مشکل کشا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا۔ ولیوں کے سردار تمہیں ہو، دین نبی کے حامی ہو، ولیوں کے سردار تمہیں ہو، دین نبی کے حامی ہو، اللہ کے پیارے، اللہ کے پیارے شیر خدا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا، میری کشتی پار لگا دینا۔ جان بڑی مشکل میں پڑی ہے، آؤ مدد کو شیر خدا، جان بڑی مشکل میں پڑی ہے، آؤ مدد کو شیر خدا، کہتے ہیں سب مشکل کشا، कहते हैं सब मुश्किल खुशा मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना, मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना, मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना। ए मौला लिए शेर खुदा, मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना, मेरी कश्ती पार लगा देना। सूरत मुबारकतुल फातिहा।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sayyid Hasan Rizvi, respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for all the names listed on the screen in Kul Arwahil Mu'mineen wal Mu'minat, Sawab al-Fatiha. Ayat Mayyajibun is requested for all the names listed on the screen and whoever is in need of it here and elsewhere. Let us all recite it together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amman yujibul mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. Amman yujibul mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Now let us invite Sayyid to come forward and recite tonight's Majlis. Par Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad Salawat.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة بعد الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين، شفيع المذنبين، رحمة للعالمين، سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For tonight, we're going to handle the Slido questions at the end. I want to get started with the topic, with your permission. So, our series has been discussing the qualities, characteristics, and subtopics regarding the Imam of the time. The first subtopic that we opened up was about the objections, the criticisms that people have about our specific belief, meaning the Shia belief of the 12th Imam. And we started to, one by one, try to respond to them. The last issue that we went through was about, why is it that the Imam has to have this long life, right? What's the justification for, the longevity? We mentioned some reasons. We talked about how there was some special privileged areas, some benefits that a person would achieve if they had this sort of long life, right? We talked about the Imam, for example, would have this awareness of previous governments, oppressive governments and systems. He would have a better understanding of the mindset and the psychology of people who have lived through these things in order to be able to break them out of the system. And he is the only one, or he is the person who is the closest to seeing and living to the true Islamic civilization of the past, right? Now, of course, as a reminder, for those of you who are at least who believe in the traditional Shia theology, you didn't really need these points. But again, our discussion is, talking about a few different things. If somebody were to ask us about, these objections and criticisms, we can't just tell them the Imam has divine knowledge, right? That's why we had this discussion in the first place. That's not enough. The next objection that somebody may have is if they say, okay, look, we can grant you that maybe, God in his infinite wisdom has decided to, make this representative, this person who will lead mankind into final victory, into this utopian society, this great revolution. We can understand the benefits of a long life too. Fine. 1,000, 1,500 years, whatever. Okay, we get that. You've given enough reasons. But there has to be some sort of training and preparation going along with that. It doesn't make sense for the Imam to just sit in a vacuum, right? Sit in some cave by himself for 1,000 years, and then all of a sudden come out and just know everything. Especially if he was, his father, the 11th Imam, Imam Hasan al-Askari alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. The 12th Imam was only, as they say, 5 years old, approximately, when his father passed away. So somebody could say, look, if he's 5 years old, a 5-year-old child passing away, what exactly is he going to understand about the world? See, other individuals, like who have a long life, if they have people with them, if they have, some normal life for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they've gone to school, they've had some training, and they can continue doing their research afterwards. Okay, we can understand that. But you Shias are trying to claim that at 5 years old, the Imam is in hiding now. He's gone, right? He's outside of our reach. Now, what that actually means, again, we're going to touch that in later weeks, inshallah. What does ghaiba actually mean? But again, we're using a very superficial understanding right now. The Imam is gone. Nobody really has access to him. In ghaibatul sughra, it's these 4 nawa'ib, right? The 4 nawa'ib, who take orders from this 5-year-old, 6-year-old, this little kid. And then after those 4 nawa'ib are gone, then the ghaibatul kubra starts. So now when he comes back, now you're talking, again, we're telling this person, yeah, he has awareness of all these things in the past. It's like, okay, but where did he learn any of this? He didn't go to any school. He wasn't trained by anybody. The only person that could have trained him was his father, but he was gone when he was 5. What could he have actually learned and picked up? So this idea of him being, a child, a youth, that's a problematic thing. We could have understood if he was, again, in his teens maybe, 20s, 30s, fine. We could have, he could have had some sort of skill sets and resources. But a 5-year-old disappearing from the face of the earth after that, that doesn't make sense. That can't be somebody that we could follow. So we want to try to figure out if we can talk about and open up this discussion of the nature of the youth leadership, or what sort of training was necessary for the Imam. Or does it make sense for a young individual? Can they actually be a leader for mankind's revolution? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, first, let's start, we're going group by group. Let's start with ourselves. And again, I know many of you are going to say, well, we have the answer. Imams have divine knowledge, divine powers. They can do whatever they want. Okay, that's great. I can't just close my laptop and that's it. We're done. Many of you probably already believe that yeah, it doesn't matter how old the Imam is, he's got divine knowledge, he's connected, he gets inspiration from Allah directly from, as soon as he's born. Okay, if that's what you believe, then no problem, then the discussion is done for you. Okay, fine. Just like every other discussion is, in a sense, useless for you. Maybe a nice reminder, but generally useless. But we still have some other things to talk about, right? The theological answer is one part, just saying that the Imams have this divine knowledge and power. Okay, that's great. But there might be some other Shias who are still unsure about this. And we mentioned this last time too. There are certain Shia scholars right now who don't believe that the Imams have this sort of divine knowledge and power. Right? I'm sure many of you have heard of this discussion, right, of do the Imams have ilmul ghaib or not? Now, the majority opinion, of course, is of course they do. There are some, I don't know what word to use or what adjective to use, but interesting speakers and scholars who say, no, they don't have this. Okay. So if you're talking to those kind of speakers, and people who follow those kind of speakers, then simply saying that Imam has ilmul ghaib is not enough, right? Not just that, is that some people may say, okay, I understand that the Imam has divine knowledge, but I need a little bit more, right? We need a little bit more evidence, some supportive evidence to show that this is actually something that's possible. That a youth, somebody who's young, can actually lead a community, can actually reflect this sort of wisdom. And it needs to be evidence that not only Shias can certify. If it's just in our books, then again, it's only going to be useful for us. We want to be able to, again, it's not our main objective, but at the very least, if we want to hold our own in a discussion, we have to say, look, our arguments, our evidence is good enough for anybody regardless of your theological background. So the theological answer, put that in your back pocket. This is where we can go to a simple historical answer, referring either our own books or the books of others like the Ahlul Sunnah or even Orientalist works if we want to. Because we as Shias know this concept of a leader, an imam, being an imam and a leader at a young age is nothing new for us. The two examples, of course, that come to mind are Imam al-Jawad and Imam al-Hadi alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So respectively, they became the imams, right? Or their fathers had passed away and they had taken over the mantle of imama when they were 8 or 9 years old. Now again, it's not enough for us to just say, yes, they always had the knowledge and God granted it to them. What we're talking about here is a historical answer. Meaning, if you go into history books, anybody's history books, you'll find the discussions and the arguments, the debates that these imams had with those who were, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and above. So the famous example is with the imam and the Sunni judge of that time, right? The Abbasid judge, Yahya ibn al-Aktham, Yahya ibn al-Aktham, where they go back and forth, and this judge tries to challenge the imam. And the imam makes him look like a fool in front of everybody, right? Showing him, you guys have heard the story, and when we come to the wilada or the shahada of the imam, then maybe we can mention it again. But I don't want to go through the details. But this story of these imams talking to the khulafa of their time, talking to the ulama of their time, meaning the Shias and the Sunnis, talking to Christians and Jews, people of all other backgrounds. They would come and they would debate. And these have been recorded in not just Shia books, not just Sunni books, but religious books. So I don't want to, again, I'm not in the business of just listing out these sources. You can go and do that research if you're actually interested. But if somebody wants to have a historical proof, that's what you do. You say, look, in our history, you can look and see that the people that we have followed before as imams, when they were young, they also showed this wisdom as well. So it's nothing supernatural or out of the ordinary for somebody, even if they're 5 years old, to become the leader of mankind. So this is the historical answer. But somebody, again, might say, look, maybe the historical sources are not valid, they're not strong, you need to bring something else. Especially if they might say, it's too Shia supportive. It supports your narrative too much. We want something that's a bit more unbiased, objective for Muslims. Okay, fine, will you accept the Quran? Well, they better say they accept the Quran. Okay, fine, let's go to the Quran. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the question again is, do we see youth, young individuals, being given this quality of wisdom and leadership, right? That's the idea we're asking here. We've given our theological answer for Shias, it's good enough. We open it up, we said, okay, you can look in history and see that our leaders have also been young and they've blown everybody else out of the water. Okay, what about the Quran? This is where we can look at, there's many examples, but one I think is very, very clear. This is in Surah Maryam, chapter 19, verse 12. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا يحيى خذ الكتاب بقوة وآتيناه الحكم صبيا. So, Allah is speaking to Nabi Yahya alayhi salam. O Yahya, خذ الكتاب, take the kitab, which can mean scripture of that time. Some say that kitab here means the sharia of his time. We're not concerned with that tafsir right now. بقوة, meaning take your sharia of your time, take your Torah, whatever it means in the tafsir, take that and go establish the truth wherever you are. So, okay, that's not the point of our discussion, it's the second part. وَآتَيْنَاهُ الْحُكْمَ صَبِيًّا, and we gave him al-hukm, which we'll explain. We gave him al-hukm while he was still a young child, still a young boy. So, very literally, the Quran is saying, we have given people, prophets before, we have given them wisdom when they were younger. Now, let's see which, okay, so in the translation that's up there, it says wisdom. So if you see this in a translation, that's pretty good. It's good if it says wisdom. I've seen others that say judgment. See, hukum, normally when you and I probably hear it, we're thinking of, a court case, right? You pass a hukum. That's usually what is meant over there. The word hukum itself, it's related to the concept of hikmah. And in fact, hikmah, meaning wisdom, is actually a type of hukum. So what does hukum actually mean? Hukum is the knowledge, or any sort of knowledge, which is talking and discussing and analyzing what is true, what is real, but it goes beyond the surface level. So many of us might say, okay, there's a bunch of chairs here, there's a TV screen there, there's XYZ number of people here. Anybody who has eyes and can count can figure that out. That's superficial truth. Al-hukm is that they have knowledge of true divine things, true divine sciences, the realities that are only accessible through immaterial means. The truths which are only accessible when you go beyond normal sensory perceptions. This is what is al-hukm. So what Allah, according to Mufassirin, is saying here is that we granted him extra sensory perception beyond what's normal. We weren't just making him somebody with a nice, good memory, or somebody that can do his times tables, nothing like that. This was an individual, while he was a child, while he was a young boy, able to understand the deepest realities of Allah's creation and the cosmos. This is what is being meant over here. It's interesting because we have a narration that expands upon this point from our eighth Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rida, alayhi salatu wassalam. So he's, in this narration, either on his own he's explaining it, or somebody had asked him about the sha'n nuzul, like why was this ayah revealed? So the eighth Imam was giving the story, and I'm just giving you a part of it here. So there was a bunch, this is again, Nabi Yahya is a young boy, young child. And all the other children of his age come and say, Yahya, come, let's go play. Right? I don't know what they were playing back in that day, right? They want to go play. So how does Nabi Yahya respond to them, right? He says, we were not created to play. We weren't created for lagh and lahu. We weren't created for these kind of things. For that reason, Allah created this verse, or revealed this verse down. So some of our scholars who, when they comment on this narration, they talk about, look, it's easy for a person to be book smart. We can read books, we can know our history, we can, get perfect scores on all these Slido, Kahoot quizzes, that's great. We can even understand and know like proofs of God's existence and, do the best in madrasa, that's wonderful. Real hikmah, real wisdom, al-hukm, is something different. It's when you have a true insight into the reality of the world, you act upon it. When you really know that this world is just a game, this world is just a stopping point, then that kind of individual who's really hakim, who's really wise, he won't waste his time in, stupid, frivolous, useless things. Now again, I'll be the first to say, I watch movies, I watch TV shows, I play games. I'm not going to deny that, right? And if you remember in Ramadan, we had a short discussion on how we can try to turn useless entertainment into something a bit more divine, right? Try to make it a bit more spiritual. So I don't want to rehash that discussion. But it's something for us to keep in mind. Am I anti-sports and entertainment? No, not at all. But there is a choice that we have. We can make the entertainment and the sports and whatever games and stuff that we do, we can make it useless. And we make it something that I just need to, unwind. Okay, you can unwind, no problem. But recognize, at least realize, be honest that while you're doing that, you're not growing spiritually whatsoever. There is no growth there. But if you at least have the intention, for example, just something simple, a very simple niyyah, Allah has recommended for us that part of our time be spent for leisure, right? A part of our time for ibadah, a part of our time we spent with our family, and then a part of our time, take it easy, have some leisure. Don't just read Quran 24/7. That's not what Allah wants from us. Have some fun. Even that niyyah in your mind, right? Right before you, again, play a game or watch a movie, TV, go out, do whatever. Say, look, I'm doing this because Allah wants me to have that spiritual freedom. I'm doing it for that reason. Just that niyyah itself has now made that action of yours a spiritual action, and your soul will begin to grow just from that specific change of intention. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, from this example, we didn't need to rely on our own narrations. We didn't need to rely on historical evidence. We're saying that in the Quran, Allah is saying that I have, in the past, given my representative wisdom, true insight when he was a young child. So why would you deny the possibility for a 5-year-old, the savior of mankind? Why would you deny that? Of course he should have it if, one of the prophets will have it. Okay. Now there's one group left. And this will be the sort of scientific rational group, right? They'll say, look, that narration, we're not going to bother with that. Even that verse of Quran, we don't really know what it means. We want to take a rational approach. How can you say that a 5-year-old child is intelligent enough that he's able now to understand the world, understand the deepest realities, so that he can lead people? How is that possible? You have to give me some basic scientific, empirical reasons for that, right? And every discussion we've been getting to this group as well. They don't want to hear about the Quran. They don't care about a hadith. They don't care about history. None of that. They want science and what they call rationality. Now, we've mentioned that what they think is science and rationality usually isn't, but fine. We'll try to speak their language, no problem. So it's very simple. We know that right now, for many years, there have existed these groups, international groups, these societies, which have an exclusive membership for those who have high IQs, right? Groups like Mensa, right? Mensa, for example, the average IQ that you need, the minimum is, I think, 131, right? When you average out the different IQ tests that are there. You need at least a 131 average IQ to be able to join Mensa or to be invited to Mensa, to apply there. Did you know that they have multiple members of Mensa that are 2 or 3 years old? Some of them have IQs over 130. There's 2 and 3-year-old individuals who are in Mensa who have IQs over 140. I guarantee that's probably maybe double what some of us might have, right? 140 is no joke. That's a very high IQ. So one example is this famous a Muslim child, Muhammad Hariz Nadim, or Nadzim, I think his name is. I think he's Malaysian. So he was given or invited to Mensa as, I think, the youngest one with the highest IQ. So he actually, I think the last time I checked, had an IQ of 142 when he was invited. This child, when he was 2 years old, is completely able to read any book that he wants. And you can find his YouTube videos. He'll sit there and read to you. So the question is this: what makes a child a prodigy? What allows them to learn how to read, understand, math, become a chess genius or whatever it is? What allows a child to do that? So there's 2 options here. One is nature and one is nurture. Nurture is simple, right? That means, and some scientists have the opinion, that this is created in a household. If the parents do certain things, I'm giving examples, I'm not saying do this, but the examples they'll say is, when the child is in the womb, play classical music that has been shown to raise IQ. When the child's a baby, read them flashcards, or read them books, or do all these different things. So some parents will do all these things in the hopes that they will get a genius prodigy child, right? Again, I'm not giving these, telling you to do that. This is not my advice. I'm saying that these are some examples that you'll find in scientific literature. A lot of this, actually, I would be against, actually. So the other scientists, another group of scholars, they say, no, it's not really about nurture, it's about nature. It doesn't matter how you treat the child in the womb. It doesn't matter what you do for them, when they're a couple months or a year old. It all depends on their genes, their genetics. That's what it depends on. If their genes have given them the ability to have an IQ of 130 plus, then that's what they're going to have. It has nothing to do. Their parents could be complete, like buffoons. It won't matter. This child will have an IQ of 142, right? And imagine parents having to deal with a child like that, right? And sometimes, I think a lot of us, we have to deal with children who are much more intelligent and spiritual than we are. And it's very, very difficult, right? It becomes very overwhelming. Because then, that our ego comes into play and, we don't want to let them one-up us. It's very tough. In the Islamic perspective, we say no, it's both of them. It's not one or the other, it's both. So now let's look at the history here. We have, of course, nurture. Who is this 5-year-old being raised by? He's being raised by an imam, obviously, right? The 11th imam. Who is the 11th imam raised by? The 10th. The 10th raised by the 9th, by the 8th, by the 7th, all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And all of this training is going back to, it's keeping in lines with the lines of nubuwah, of prophethood. Every single person in that chain are all ma'asum. They're ma'asumeen. So the nurture is perfect. The nurturing is perfect. In addition, because they're coming from a pure line, right? Because of the perfect genes that they have, they also have perfect nature. So now you have perfect nature plus perfect nurture. What are you going to get? You're going to get a perfect child. What else do you expect? So why is it so far-fetched to believe that a 5-year-old is going to have this infinite wisdom when he has scientifically speaking, he's got the genes, he has the best parent possible. Even if he's 5 years old, that means that at the very least, if we're talking about the youngest member of Mensa, who's 142, at the very least when he was 2, he could have had an IQ of 142. Now, what does that mean? Again, I'm not pro IQ tests and all that stuff. We're just trying to speak the language of people who like science and all that. We're saying, look, you've told us that people can have this high IQ, they can teach themselves how to read, they can be self-directed educators and researchers, so why is it impossible for somebody who's 5 years old to do that as well? If his father was a genius, then from the moment he was born, that father can raise this child, to be the savior of mankind. There's nothing irrational about it. There's nothing unscientific about it. We've got historical evidence, we have theological evidence, and we have Quranic evidence. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So this is where we will leave this discussion. So now let's move on to the Slido questions first that were left over from last time. One more salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. So the first question is, do you think that Serbians are to be blamed for the fall of the former Yugoslavia? So normally, the Slido questions, we would prefer that they be related to the topic, although I'm not going to say it's haram that you ask this. I was a poli-sci major, but my focus was more on politics in the Middle East and the Islamic countries, Muslim countries, and the U.S. politics. So I don't really know. I can't really say about this. I don't know. Yeah, I can't say anything. So I'll have to go past that. Okay, next one. Salam alaikum, or salam Sayyid, alaikum salam. Just wanted to say thank you for giving us your amazing knowledge that we take for granted. And apologies for the community members that ask ridiculous questions and say ridiculous remarks. They don't understand the value of studying in Hawza. I didn't understand the value of Hawza being there. Don't worry about that. Alhamdulillah that I had good teachers. I'm thankful for that. We don't have to apologize for community members that are asking ridiculous questions or saying ridiculous things. If they're making jokes and saying ridiculous things, I'll take a very positive outlook on it. At least they're involved, at least they're interacting. They could be off watching something else, interacting with somebody else and doing many other things. The fact that they're at least tuned in and they're replying and sending messages, that's good enough for me, right? Maybe later on they'll say something serious, maybe not. It's not a big deal to me. I don't take it seriously. And I think most of you have learned I'm not a very serious guy in the first place, so it's okay for me, but I appreciate your sympathy and your empathy. I really do. But it's not a big deal, don't worry. Okay. What is the metaphysical relationship between Bibi Fatima alayha salam and Imam Mahdi ajalallahu ta'ala farajuh sharif? So, yeah, we didn't mention this. We weren't able to open it up on Tuesday night. And we don't have too much time, so I'll see if I can give at least a few points for you to think about. If we were to think about and mention the most prominent feature or quality of the 12th Imam, what comes to our mind? We think about ghaiba, right? He's hidden. That's what we think about. The Imam, he's the Imam in ghaiba, Imam al-ghaiba. He's the hidden Imam, right? That notion of ghaiba and being hidden is what is described as the metaphysical relationship between him and Bibi Fatima alayhi salam. Now, what do we mean? Again, I can't go in depth, but I want to just give you some clues so that you can think about it and discuss it on your own. Look at the life of Bibi Fatima alayhi salam. Yes, we celebrated her birth on Tuesday, right? Which was the, 20th Jamadi Thaani, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? So many historians will agree that, okay, it was 20th Jamadi Thaani. But if you try to ask what year it was, they're not sure. They say, we're not really sure what year it was. It could be, I forgot in terms of Hijri or before Hijri, but I think in terms of the common era, it was between, I think, 605 and 615, something like that. So there's a 10-year gap. They're not sure. Okay. Then the next question, where is she buried? No one knows. No one has any idea. Now, there are people who have guesses, Baqi maybe, or in Masjid al-Nabawi. These are all guesses and they're possibilities. No one has certainty outside of the Imam of the time. Nobody knows. In terms of a lot of the secret discussions that she had with Rasulullah, with Imam Ali, we're not privy to those as well. Her life was filled with a lot of secrecy, a lot of hidden knowledge and information, such that even for us, we don't know her birth date exactly. We don't know her death exactly. The Ummah, nobody knows these things. Her life has been intentionally kept hidden and secret. Now let's come to the 12th Imam. Isn't that, by definition, his life? When he was born, a secret, for the most part, except for those who deserved it. Where he is now, it's a secret. A lot of his sayings and his letters and the ahadith that are there, yeah, we have some there, but among the ulama, there's a lot of discussion about, which one is actually his handwriting, in terms of the manuscripts, which ones are actually authentic. There's a lot of unknowns there too. How, what are going to be the signs of his reappearance before and right before? When we get to that, inshallah, we'll see that there's a lot of unknowns there as well. The common factor which ties them together is this idea of being hidden. Now, the next point, when you have that in mind. All of the ma'asumin, when we talk about them being perfect individuals, what does that really mean? See, our job as human beings is to manifest Allah's names. In the words of our warafa, our mystics, our philosophers, our job, our duty, our responsibility, what we're meant to do is to manifest and reflect Allah's names. He's Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, we reflect that universal and specific mercy. He's Al-Ghafur and Al-Ghaffar, we become forgiving. We manifest all of these things. In the Quran, or let me start with this first. Among the ma'asumin, we see them manifesting, of course, they are the perfect manifestations of God's names. We know that. But one thing that we have to understand is that not all of them manifested all of Allah's names to the same degree. Some of them were much more shadid and heavy in the way they manifested. So, for example, the quality of being a leader, we see that only in, for example, Rasulullah, Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hasan alayhi salam. You don't see this in anybody else. So the other Imams basically are, in a sense, sort of behind the scenes, if you will, right? Or they, of course, they're supposed to be the leaders, but the apparent names that we see them reflecting are a little bit different, right? So when you look at all the various names of the Imams, there's some names that we see that are supposed to be manifested more so by Bibi Fatima and the Imam of the time. So let me give you one verse of the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Huwa al-awwalu wal-akhir wal-zahiru wal-batin. Allah is the awwal, the first. He is the akhir, He's the last. He is the zahir, the apparent, the exoteric, the physical, the one that's observable. And He is the batin. Allah is al-batin, that's one of His names. He is hidden. He's mysterious. He's secretive. The metaphysical principle, the name that ties Bibi Fatima and the Imam of the time together is the name of Allah al-Batin. Both of them manifest that name more so than anybody else, any of the other ma'asumin. Bibi Fatima's name, or the one that she's manifesting, is al-Batin. Her life is in secrecy. And specifically, this is why she has to be a female. We talked a little bit about this. When you are a defender of wilaya, which is a gift and a duty given to women in Islam, they are always behind the scenes. This is why Bibi Fatima did things behind the scenes for most of her life, except for the extenuating circumstances post-Saqifa. The Imam of the time, what is the majority of his life right now? It's hiddenness. He's behind the scenes. He's al-batin. People talk about the sun behind the clouds, right? When they, explain that narration, they talk about, see, he benefits us even though we can't see him. But there's the other way of looking at it too. He has to be behind the clouds. He has to manifest this name of al-batin because he's taking that role model of Bibi Fatima. You see, when we normally think about ghaiba, we always think about it as a bad thing. Oh man, he's in ghaiba because of our sins. That's a part of it, but that's not the full picture. In the ideology, the philosophy of the Urafa, they say ghaiba is a necessary component for spiritual growth. Things have to be kept hidden. Things have to be kept secretive. You will always have they call ashabu sir, the people who will get certain secrets that nobody else gets. When Rasulullah was there, he was taken away from people at some times. He had his minor ghaibas once in a while. He would go off and be on, Jabal an-Nur, right, in the cave for, days at a time, months at a time. And he'd be away from his family. The other imams, as we get later and later, they are away from the general public. Now this imam of the time is completely, in a sense, physically pulled away. Why? Because a part of that is for us to grow spiritually. And what they say is that it's for us to learn how to manifest that name of Allah, al-batin. Especially in this day and age, the biggest problem that we have is all we do is focus on what is apparent, what is right in front of our face. We want to just show off everything. I'm not talking about show off in terms of money and prestige and all that stuff. I'm talking about even your Islam, your activism. There's so much that people just, they have to show the work that they're doing online. And this is especially problematic for women. If they want to take the example of Bibi Fatima, then they would see that her example was always behind the scenes. It wasn't in front of everybody. Bibi Zainab, we talked about this before. This was not. They were manifesting al-batin. That was their name that they had. And a woman should be manifesting that name too, normally. Not be so out in the open all the time. Even for men, to be so open on social media and coming out like this is not good for one's spiritual journey. We have to recognize that most of our spirituality needs to happen in secret, not out in the open. But again, I don't want to go on longer in that discussion because there's a lot more to be said. Maybe at some other point we can open that up. Let's move on to the quiz. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay, so let me mention, I guess, the poll first. So I took the results of the poll that we opened up. There's a ranking open right now. So we'll leave this open for a week. So you get points to assign, right? In order of 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, up to 1. So you pick what you want because these are the 5 ones which are feasible that we can do as special, Thursday night monthly sessions, right? The rest of them were nice ideas. I mean, I wish we could have like pajama party, sleepover, baraza, barbecue stuff, sports. We're not going to do that, right? So these are the 5 ones which I thought were fairly feasible. So vote and then we'll figure out what to do, inshallah, with these. So let's go to the quiz quickly and then we'll end, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Oh, okay. We got enough people to go. So Assalamu alaikum to everybody. To Jabir, to the real Sayyid Hasan Rizvi, to Zahra K, to Kristaps. Oh, by the way, somebody had mentioned to find out what is Kristaps. So Kristaps actually means a bearer of Christ in Greek, and it's also I think a Latvian name. Somebody said I should discuss that on a Thursday night, but took 5 seconds of research, so there's your answer. Because obviously you can see the word Christ there, right? So that's from the Greek Christ or Christ. So bearer of Christ. Hasan Parpia, Assalamu alaikum, Labaik ya Imam, Jafar. I don't know what that is, so somebody has to explain that to me. Hello, Ma'asuma, Yusuf Ali, Hakim, Plato, Ahsan, nice name. Specialists again, 2 Yusuf Alis. Who is Hasan Rizvi? I don't know a double S Hasan. I'm not that Hasan, definitely. It's only 1 S. There's no shadda on the scene, it should only be 1 S. Jessa, Sakina, the Dujis, I think, not Sayyid Hasan Rizvi, thank you. Okay, let's get started because we're almost out of time. So good luck, everybody. Okay, first question. Bismillah. Most Christians refer to Nabi Yahya alayhi salam as Yehovah, Jehovah, John the Christian, or John the Baptist. So some of you will remember. We've done this before. We brought this question up. Phrased a little differently, but same question. And we also talked about, there's other names as well, but this is the most famous one that Christians will use and refer to. So 81% of you remember that it's John the Baptist. Otherwise, you can say John the Baptizer, and I've seen John the Immunizer, other names like that. Okay. In one of his letters, the Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Faraju Sharif says that his great role model is who? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sayyidah Fatima Alayhi Salam, Imam Ali Alayhi Salam, or Elon Musk. Obviously these, in different people's eyes, these are all great individuals. One of them is a little questionable, especially because this individual doesn't believe that he does believe that we live in a computer simulation. Hasan. So you guys remember from Tuesday night that the Imam says his uswatun hasana is Sayyidah Fatima alayha salam. Hasan. I'm glad that nobody said Elon Musk. Nobody should be taking him as a role model, please don't. What does Zahra mean? Does it mean bright, a beautiful sunrise, an elevated soul, or a flower? So this may sound familiar as well if you were here Tuesday night or tuned in Tuesday night. So let's see. More than half of you were paying attention. The answer is a flower. Zahra with a ta marbuta is a flower, which is not a title of Bibi Zahra. Sayyidah Fatima Zahra is Zahra after the, it's Zal, Ha, Ra, Alif, and then a Hamza. That Zahra, that means bright or illuminating. This Zahra with a ta marbuta means a flower. So good job to 55% of you who paid attention. And it was a trick question, sorry, but I had to do it. Okay, last one, and then we'll end. Last question. What's going on back there? Oh, there we go. Okay, random trivia. In the series The Mandalorian, what is the real name of the character known as Baby Yoda? Is it Yodu, Yarl, Grogu, or Dhul-Fiqar? So people have been asking, you can't just throw in this Islamic stuff, you have to put in random stuff. I said, okay, so where's my Star Wars nerds at? Let's see. Okay, 53% of you did a great job, or Googled it really fast. It's Grogu. Although people don't really like that name, they prefer Baby Yoda. May Allah protect his life. Inshallah, may Allah hasten the appearance of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, inshallah. Okay, so in first place, the specialists. Actually, it's a tie, technically. It's Labayk Ya Imam, because both of them 35 seconds, wow. But many of you got 4 out of 4. Great job to Hamida, Hakeem Plato, and Mahmoud. Is that you, Mahmoud? Yeah? Ahsant. Very good. Ahsant. Okay, so the hardest question, of course, was the one about the Mandalorian. But you want random trivia, then I'm going to start asking random stuff. Okay, so, and don't forget also that the registration for the debate is still open. There's a few slots available. So please, if you are interested to become, either pro-East or pro-West, sign up as soon as you can so that we can start interviewing people and then decide who are going to be the teams. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahli bayti tayyibin tahirin wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
وارثة. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من متلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبيا بكم موقن، بشراع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم، وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. سيد حضرة علي أكبر. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة شهداء كربلاء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله ووداءه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الزكي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة حضرة عباس. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل عباس ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوتهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نسحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل، وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أئمة المسلمين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتيه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.